Welcome, everyone. Those of you that haven't joined us before, my name is Shailen, and I'm a student of the London Centre, and my mother will be joining us shortly. And these are chit chats for regular students from wherever they are, attending Brahma Kumari centres. So we have a bit of a free agenda that people can bring up whatever points are in their mind or whatever they'd like to share. And then later on, we read a Morley. Today, Ranjan has chosen one. I'm not sure which one she's chosen. And so we'll then explore the topic that Baba takes up in that Morley. And also people can request topics. So welcome to those of you that are here live. Great to see you. And I wonder if any of you would like to kick off with your thoughts at the moment about the Morleys or about your own efforts or other observations.
There are two things I would like to see. I was having a discussion with one of the center instrument, and she was commenting that we had a lot of rain, flooding and all that this past week. And she was saying, and there were two incidents. We had a World Peace Day at the center in Port of Spain, and it was really, really rainy. There was a concern whether or not the event would have been able to bring enough people. And on that particular day, the weather held up so well. And recently they held a function for me on my pre-retirement, and it was so much rain. And when they called me and they said, Ambika, what are we going to do? I said, don't worry, if it is to be, it will be. And on that particular day, the weather held up so well. And I had invited that instrument soul to it as well, so that she can do an open meditation, that experience. And it went very well. And she was commenting that she's now seeing when nature is actually serving Brahmins, and when we give to nature, when we serve nature, right, even with the environment, how we do stuff, recycling and all that, Baba's often said, nature will serve us. When there's extreme weather, which is going to be worse than what it is now, as the both messages that came through recently, so much is to come. I've recognized, as Baba is saying, and experiencing it, where Baba is saying, where your protection will be, where nature will serve you. So I felt I needed to just say that, whether we feel it's coincidence, but I don't think it is coincidence. I think we're service, because my retirement function was a bit of service that happened. Like the center provided all the meals. I wanted to do that. I told them, no, that we will do the meals. So I gave that, and those food were blessed. Such I sat in Barbara room with the food, and everybody even commented on the food, and they were amazed it doesn't have onion and garlic in it. So those who had never, many people would have, from my office, would have had food or some sweets from the Brahma Kumaris, and they always commented, but many of them may not have had the food. So that was one thing I felt that, wherever we get the opportunity to serve, we serve. And the other point I wanted to raise again, you would have discussed that in a few classes, Saturday classes, when you had asked the question, what it is from the golden age that comes from the confluence age into the golden age. And I think it was this week, I was looking back for it and I couldn't find it, where the Trimurti will be placed behind the throne. The Trimurti. No, not the Trimurti, Vishnu will be placed. And my thought is, I was thinking that when we come into golden age, everything of the confluence age is forgotten. It is now merged within the soul. And I am thinking that image for it to happen in the golden age, and I know you were saying there were a few things that would have had from the confluence age would be there, but I know this one was the Vishnu image. I am thinking that whether or not the Vishnu image started in the golden age, and then it came into it emerged back into the confluence age. Because if we came clean, everything is now merged into the soul. For this Vishnu image to be there, I am wondering that if it didn't come from confluence, it had to have always been there from the beginning. And so it came first in the beginning and then came back into the confluence age. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah. So, Lynette Ben, did you want to come in with any thoughts on those 2 points first?
Not really, because that was something in my mind, and I'm glad that Auntie brought it up, because I was thinking, if they don't know anything about God at that period of time, how come they know about Vishnu? When you have Lakshmi and Narayan as the emperor and empress at that time, what brought that about? I have no idea. So that's what I'm, that discussion would be really, really helpful this morning. Thanks.
And what about on the influence of Brahman's thoughts on nature?
That I have great faith in. I have very great faith in the Brahmins, and the Brahmins who are really firm on understanding the work of God and our part that we play in restructuring nature, or bringing back nature to where it is supposed to be, and having nature serve us. So that I have absolute faith in. I have absolutely no question and no qualms about what Brahmins could do connecting with God, because God is telling us that through us, He works, and whatever is happening, we know is good. Whatever is to come, we know it's good. But we could free ourselves from the impact of what nature can do or have on us. So I'm glad that Amika brought up those two topics this morning. It is very, very, good topics to discuss today. Thank you.
And Maria Ben, Shayla Ben, Shanti, to you as well. I wonder if either of you had any thoughts on experiences and thoughts on how Brahman's elevated thoughts and plans can influence nature now to cooperate. And also, Baba does tell us that the symbol of Vishnu is behind the throne of Lakshmi and Narayan. And so whether you had any thoughts on that as well. Maybe you can't come to the microphone. So with the nature thing, we'll also ask Ranjan Ben to share, because she has this great enthusiasm about one experience she had with Daddy Prakashmani, and it stayed with her. So I'll leave her to share that one more. I think what you say, Lynette Ben, about faith is something that's very moving, because when you hear Baba's messages on a Thursday, you do feel his faith in the Brahmins. Brother Surya was saying that he's never heard a message where Baba was looking at the entire gathering as diamonds. He felt that was very unique. And you can just see that Baba's got this vision of every Brahmin he's not moving from. He's going to just see a very, very positive image, and that's it. And then, Maria Ben, you've come on the camera. Did you want to come in and share something? Okay. So what you have is this, I think for me, we got to break it down a little bit, because maybe one of my roles is to bring in the intellect as well as the faith of the heart. And I think we've got the context of service, haven't we? And that's the context which you have framed this topic in, Ambika. That where Baba's service has to be done, where does nature cooperate? And is that cooperation with Brahmins or is it cooperation with Baba? Because this is that time where Baba's message has to get through. And he was saying the other day that when he comes, it's everyone's stage of retirement. That's it. He influences time. And perhaps it's not possible for nature to interrupt Baba's tasks. And Sister Vedanti was observing that Baba was making plans in the subtle region with a group of Brahmins or groups of Brahmins. So if that was Baba's plan from the subtle region, would nature interrupt it? So I think we break that down. So where it's service. Then we have the yagya, and Ranjanben can share her story on that. And throughout the history of the yagya, there have been challenges. Sometimes nature does cooperate, sometimes not. And we know that the daddies went through a period of austerity for maybe a good decade or more. So you've got different experiences there. But the yagya keeps going, and there seems to be a way in which then nature then compensates later on, maybe. So there's something there about nature and the relationship with nature and the yagya. Sister Jayanti was sharing a few months ago the process of offering bhog began. And after they had moved to Mount Abu, they'd used up a lot of wealth because initially I think Baba thought that destruction was just going to happen much more quickly. So in the 1940s, and as I've said before, I would think, looking back in my perception of history, I think the 1940s is the most similar to Baba's visions. You had a world war happening, you had a civil war in India, you had the invention of nuclear bombs. So it was quite reasonable to think, this is it. And even after partition, they didn't move because they thought this is it now. But then they used up their resources in the move. And there was one of the daddy's relatives, and maybe more than one, who was going to sponsor the move and then didn't sponsor them. So it left a bit of a deficit, which then caused this period of austerity. But Brahma Baba was soul searching on the spiritual reason for this. And so Sister Jayanti was saying that he came to the conclusion that because they were not offering the food to Shiv Baba before eating each time, that he felt that this is why nature, because whether it's money, whether it's food, whether it's water, it's all nature. Everything is nature. So Baba often says it's a material yagya. Shiv Baba has to come into this world. Brahma has to surrender the material things. This is a material yagya. This is a yagya grounded in nature with human souls, human beings as well. So that's how the system of offering bhog began in Madhuban, first of all. And then it was that same principle that spread it around the centers, that they were having austerity. So Lady Janki used to share that she'd asked Baba what to do. I think she was starting a center in Calcutta at the time. And This would have been maybe 1955, around that time. And up until then, they hadn't had to think about income and revenue. Like, that was all done. They just all lived there. They looked after the yagya, but they weren't really thinking about income. And then suddenly the daddies are having to learn new skills. How do you keep a center going? How do you set one up? How do you keep it going? And they had just been relying on mainly Brahma Baba's surrendered wealth. And they had this intoxication that they were eating from the wealth of Brahma. That in there, as is the food, so is the mind. And Baba had explained that there's this chain that goes right from how you earn the money. How you earn the money, how you spend the money, the ingredients you buy, then how you prepare it, and so on. It's a whole chain that affects the mind, not just the food. So they had that awareness that we are eating from that original surrender of Brahma. And then they were going out across India where that wasn't going to happen. And Baba was not saying to them, you go and earn your own money. So you're hearing, like in today's Murali, where there's a variety of students coming, some they haven't even really recognized who Shibo is. And they might just feel, well, let's give a donation. Like, that's what you do. You just go and give a donation. So she couldn't verify where all of this money is coming from. So she wrote to Baba, and Baba then said that she should begin offering the Bhog. Yeah, that's how this works now. That act of offering is the act of purification of nature. It's a purification of the elements right from the well. Now, where you have more of a choice, what Daddy used to do in London is the money used to buy food was only from the regular student. And then you get, so that like there might be appointed 6, 7 regular students who are going to contribute. Okay, that money we're just going to use for that. Then everything else that's put into the box where you couldn't necessarily tell who's donating, that might be used for leaflets and printing, like all the other material things, but not for food. So I think there's something about the yagya and nature, how this, the two, it's a material yagya. But ultimately, this yagya unleashes the spark of destruction as well. So there is this relationship between the sacrificial fire and the process of destruction. So what Baba says is, when they create a yagya, they have Brahmins to supervise. So as you all know, Brahma Baba was mixing in high society. And generally, where you've got an important yagya, that would be created by a king. And like an ordinary person doing a yagya is just an ordinary thing. So a king couldn't do that. The king would have to do something more splendid. So Baba had attended when kings had created these yagyas. And one of them he refers to in the Muralis. It lasted 7 days. Like 24 hours. That flame cannot go out. So the king had recruited 100 Brahmin priests to supervise. And you don't have one fire, you have one big fire and usually 4 other smaller ones for north, west, east, and south, and one big one in the middle. So you need quite a number of priests to be supervising. So Baba says these are memorials. You are the Brahmins. This is the yagya. And they put in rice and lentils and other things. So it's a material yagya. They're sacrificing something there. ghee, all sorts of things like that. So Baba says, this is your body, mind, and will. So he gets the Brahmins to use the nature that they have, that they've got a relationship with, and he says, put it in this fire. You've got to stoke the flames. You've got to keep the flames going. And so he puts us in this much longer process, than just Shiv Baba changing everything instantly on his own. But there's something about this relationship with nature, the purification that has to happen first of the nature associated with Brahman. And then one thing that Daddy learnt during that time of austerity was by being generous-hearted with the wealth and the resources of the yagya grows. You can have a mentality that when you're poor, you feel poor in your head. Or you can be practically poor and feel like a king on the inside. And so Daddy taught that sort of mentality. And even in centers where she didn't have much, they had to share totally. They had to share, like this morning Baba's talking about gifts and like making a calendar of Krishna, and if you make something good, people will keep it. So these are centers where they might not have much to eat, but they would be spending it on this. And in the 1960s, most of the centers, the daddies only had a full meal on a Thursday. So it was only on a Thursday when the food was offered to Baba and it was shared, was the only time in the week that the daddies had a full meal. The other 6 days, they might have just had a handful of rice, boiled it, and just ate that. Have one chapati, at that, one banana. That's how they set up their center. But it was the sharing. They went without. And that was the sharing. This week we were listening to a couple of experiences of sisters who lived with Daddy Janki in Pune. And they were visiting the Delhi retreat center. And one of them, Sister Rukmani, she joined Daddy's center in the 1960s. And she was recounting just this level of economizing that Daddy Janki was teaching everyone. And she was once boiling rice, and Daddy came into the kitchen and she noticed that 3 grains had fallen into the sink. And she said, "Who's doing the rice?" And Sister Rukmani said, "It was me, Daddy." "What, who spilled these 3? You spilled it?" She said, "Yeah, it must have been me." You created such loss to the yagya. The people donating into the yagya are giving their pennies, they are scraping. And in those days, the students were generally quite poor as well. And so they were scraping to put something into the yagya. And it comes in the Murali that when the history hall was being built, Baba says in the Muralis around that time, that put a brick into this and you will get a palace in heaven. And so hearing those Muralis, there was one mother who attended the Pune center, and she had 8 children, and she was a single mother. So she used to wash dishes, sew. So through the washing of the dishes, she fed her family, and then she did extra work, sewing, and she was very determined. So she managed to, through her selling the items that she sewed, she managed to make 2 rupees. And she gave that when Daddy was going to Madhuban. She gave that to Daddy and said, give this to Baba. This is for my break. And Daddy then went to a goldsmith and sort of transferred the, I think Baba had told her to put the money back into gold. And she said she literally got like you would 1 lentil of gold, like that much gold. So and she took it to Baba, and literally Baba was just able to buy 1 with that. And Baba said that tell the daughter that a palace is waiting for her. And so there's this connection, I think, between the yagya and nature, that the Brahmins must use nature, body, mind, and wealth, to grow, sustain this yagya. And as that act of generosity, it's like a purification of elements that's occurring, that you put it into the yagya, and then it goes out, it's shared, it's distributed. And this is what happens in temples as well. People will take offerings and then it's shared out. That's how it's been memorialized as well in Bhakti. And obviously in Bhakti as well, there'll be some element of spiritual energy going into that food as well. But it's not the same as a yagya purification that Baba is putting it through. So I think there's this element of cooperation, like we've been seeing in our time as BKs, how much the yagyas grow. And it's grown through giving. The more giving, the more coming. And so that Mama, Daddy said she learned this from Mama. Mama was very generous in the way she looked after everything in the yagya, and very caring. And Sister Muni was saying that one thing she learned from Daddy Prakash Muni of how to manage the brothers and sisters in Madhuban was, and even in centers, is always to make sure that you are thinking of their needs before they need it. You know, you make sure they got everything, because they've surrendered, you know, they're living, you know, they're doing service all day. So we must meet their needs. We must. So whether that's food, whether that's clothes, whatever they need something else, make sure it's there for them. And so what you have is this generosity. And Daddy Prakash Muni built a system in Madhuban. One of the questions that came up, and Daddy Janki used to say this, that when Baba went to the subtle region, should the system of giving gifts in Madhuban continue? And that had a discussion, probably they asked Baba as well. They decided it should. So if you look right until now, even if there are 25,000 people, everyone gets a gift. And so there's this generosity of giving, and that people should be receiving something. The brother Ramnath, he was the supervisor of the Toli department in Pandab Bhavan back in the day. And in the early 1980s, when they could have personal meetings with Baba, one of the questions they'd ask Baba was, of course, Brahmins will want to take Toli with them, and making Toli can be expensive, time-consuming. If you've got lots and lots of Brahmins, that's lots of Toli that needs to be made, packed, distributed, and so on. So should we put a limit? And Bap Dada said no limit. A Brahmin can take as much Toli from Madhuban as they want. So to this day, that is the system. So they've got huge operations of making Toli and giving Toli, but they took that, and that's the spirit. So you go to the Toli department in Madhuban with a smile. they will give it to you, because Baba has said, don't worry about that. Don't economize in that. So there's this generosity that brings more. And so you've got that. But where the balance has to come is in economizing. So what Daddy's teaching is that if you're living in the center, well, it comes in the moralities as well. You know, you're living in the center and then you're just eating, drinking, you're not economizing, you're not doing the service. You have a responsibility. And then I've shared this with you before as well, that brother, when I was a teenager, I wasn't in those days, like when I was 12, 13, 14, I wasn't coming every day to the Morley. I was going to school, playing football. That was mainly my interest. But every Saturday morning I came to class. And then afterwards, I would stay and spend some time with the brothers in the brothers' bhavan, called Shanti Bhavan. And one morning, Brother Mike George used to live there in those days. And he was sharing that him and a few of those other brothers, they were with Daddy Genki once. And Daddy Genki said to them that if I had a role like you, I'd make £1 million for Baba. And Daddy had that sort of ambition for the yagya, ambition for Baba. What do I have to do? And within the context of the daddies, Baba used to call Daddy Janki. It comes up in the moralities as well. So I would say Brahma Baba, he had 5 children. So he had lots of experience as a father, but also he was like even though he was the youngest of the 3 brothers, he was like the eldest of the 3 among his extended family. And so there's a saying in India that, and I don't think it's specific to India really, that the parents have special love for the child that earns and supports the family. And so you get different siblings, of course. And ideally, parents just want to get everyone on their own feet. That's the ideal. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes you think the eldest one would do it. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the younger sibling that actually supports the family. So Babu says in the moralities that he has special love for the Brahmins, the ones who are earning for the family as well. And so amongst the daddies, he used to say this for Daddy Janki, because in the history of the yagya, the daddy that has done the best fundraising and motivated the most donations is Daddy Janki. And initially how things ran, and maybe they still do to an extent, was through the relatives of the daddies. So Brahma Baba was a great networker, and when they moved to Mount Abu, he sent the daddies to go and stay back with their families and encourage the support and the donation that way. And why Daddy was sent especially to Pune is that there's a very large Sindhi community that settled there after partition. So Daddy was very, very good at motivating. And people meeting Daddy, they feel Baba, and so they feel more motivated as well. So she was known amongst the daddies as the son who earns. And Baba used to refer to her like that as well. So because she had that sort of nature and mentality, that, you know, ultimately you got to keep the lights on. As a Brahmin, you got to keep that flame burning. So what she was saying is, if you've got a role which takes you into the world of work, and some Brahmins, they're very successful in their careers, actually. And I remember she was talking about one Kumari in London to all of us. I think she was trying to suggest to all of us brothers that we're not earning enough money by giving the example of this one Kumari. And she had gone into finance in the city of London, and she was earning £650 per day. So in just 6 months' work, she was making £100,000. So it's a considerable amount. And Daddy was saying, it's a wonder, isn't it? It's just amazing. Like, she was really just appreciating that you got some brilliant Brahmins who can, if that's their role, they can, like, so this thing about summoning nature, having nature serve you, it works in many ways of physical wealth. It works in the ways of food. So in London, there's one brother who began coming to the center who owned a grocery store. So I think even till now, he brings all the fruit and vegetable from his store. So his role in the drama was such that literally from the market, so when the goods come into the UK, into the London market, he goes there, gets the fresh goods, brings it straight to the center. And that's what comes every week into the center. So the yagya and nature has a very close connection. Then there's one part of that which is linked with the yagya, linked with Brahmins, and that's your own body. Your body is part of nature. And the Brahmins' bodies are very valuable at this time because they enable us to study, but they also enable us to serve. And so part of this cooperation of nature, the biggest cooperation we need is our bodies. And so how much help Baba can give to the body. And so I think it came up in one of the Borg messages this week that Baba was giving special vibration and sakash to the senior. So we can understand that in Breton Mayne is about 98 now, and some of the other Dada, I think Dada Bridgeman's 90, Dada Nirvera must be close to 90, you know, so we can understand the older you get, your health is going to go down. So when Baba was remembering them, he was saying that you've conquered nature. But Baba Ki is giving special sakash to the bodies. Yeah. So the cooperation of nature is very much to do with this body as well. And look how much cooperation Daddy Janki got, even though she was probably the most unwell daddy throughout the history of the yagya. But there's something about how she used nature. And we see this sanskar in Sister Jayanti as well. There's this tirelessness. So Devi Janki just, when she could, she was just tireless. So then the body is also giving her cooperation. And it had energy. It didn't get tired. It kept going. So there's that relationship. So there's the body, yagya, service. Then fourth question that comes into mind is, on one side, Baba is saying, you're going to have to be a detached observer as things come your way. For example, we saw earlier this year how the brothers and sisters who were living in Ukraine suddenly lost everything. And that took no time at all. And according to the drama, many of them were in Madhubana. And so you had this situation just coming where how much can nature cooperate with us? Because ultimately you have the process of destruction that has to happen. So on one side, our bodies cooperate, and then we had the morally one week ago or 2 weeks ago, where Baba said the bombs will fall, everyone's bodies will just be finished. But you Brahmins will leave the body in a certain stage. You'll have already become karmatic. So he was observing how all the Brahmins will just be in a very, very happy stage and welcoming. So I think there's a question mark really about, can we really judge? Because sometimes we just won't get cooperation because this is the end of the ice. So Baba says to us that you're going to get test papers through your body, through wealth. And we think about, and through like natural calamities, other situations, we think about Mama, and I think everyone expected that Mama's yoga power combined with Baba's help would conquer cancer. And it didn't. It was a big, really big shock for everyone. But Baba's priority is to get the Brahmins into their karmatic state. So you've also got some level of mixed priority. We might think we got to live as long as possible, and Baba's thinking you got to settle as quickly as possible. And so what do we mean by cooperation? Baba might frame it that adversity, that illness, cooperated with you to settle your accounts. So it's also about framing cooperation. How do we view? Is an adversity just another form of cooperation? Every time we don't get what we want, we have to use our power to adjust, our power to accommodate. So Baba is going to say everything is beneficial. So Ranjan Ben's arrived now, and I was remembering you, Ranjan Ben, because we're just chatting about how nature cooperates with Brahman. And do you want to just share your experience with Daddy Prakashmani when there was a water shortage?
Om Shanti, good morning.
Om Shanti.
Yeah, yes, I was in the 1990s. I was in Madhuban, and there was a lot of there was no rainfall, so shortage of water. And Dadiji always likes to have the Baba's children come to Madhuban during the season, and so the brother said. Daddy tank is almost empty now, and there is no rain, and Baba's children will start arriving. And Daddy said, "Acha," and then she finished the murli.
She organized yoga bhattis that time.
Afterwards, but after the murli, she always asks all the brothers, department brothers, if anything needs. And if they need anything, if there's any problems, so she asked she knew about the water. And she said, Acha, and then she went just like that with Baba. And then you see that Baba often in her messages also, Baba said that with her, all the elements were ready to even to us, Baba often says, are you ready? Elements are waiting for you, but you deities are not ready. So Dadiji was ready, of course, and then it was just like that. And she must have ordered the elements and her to come and fill up the tank she just looked, and suddenly when there's a lot of rain is going to come, and there was a little first is a breeze and then a wind and starts to blow, and it was just like that. And we know there's going to be very heavy rain, and then you literally hear the sound of ankle bells, like somebody coming with ankle bells. And then it just rained. It rained so heavy. And Dadiji just, it was her or Baba, but she showed the example how we can order, if we are connected with Baba, and if we have served the elements, and so elements are going to serve us. And so then she turned around and said, we all will sit in Patti today. And then she asked all the daddies to come and sit in yoga so that the tanks get filled. But, she was so humble that she always is like that. Although she can do it herself, her yoga power is so great, and Baba would, of course, help her. But she would always ask everybody, no matter how young, or everybody, she was that humble. Anyway, and then they sat in yoga, but by the evening, there was more than enough water. And the brother said, Daddy, it was your yoga power that tanks are full now. And she was still very detached and in Baba's remembrance. And that was beautiful to witness, because, the rain and how you could feel the vibration and you can feel the elements coming, like Baba says. They will come dancing and shimmering. And so we could also do it. Baba says we are not ready. We don't have that self-sovereignty and right to order the elements. Others, they are waiting, they cooperate. They would say, yes, my Lord, and come. If our stage, it's the stage.
You reminded me that when Daddy went to the subtle region, Baba said that the elements were waiting to greet her. And we read that message, you might remember, a few months ago. So that was very unique. I think also when Daddy Janki went up, I think so. So, it's very, very unique. And you see, Baba was about to come. This was the beginning of Baba's season. Children are coming. I don't think the elements can stand in Baba's way. That Baba's coming. The yagya has to continue. Children are coming. It's not an option for nature to not cooperate.
And we saw Daddy Janki, how ill, everything, how old, but how she went. So we all know. But, even to Mohini Ben New York, she said, when she was unwell and Mohini Ben, Daddy must have rung her. And she said, no. Anybody would have just this weak, negative thoughts, when you are not well, you sometimes.
No, it wasn't weak and negative. So when Sister Mohini, I think she had been diagnosed with cancer and she was going through treatment or some other ailment, she just approached it with a lot of detachment and with contentment. So it wasn't not weak and negative. It was just very, very, like, from a knowledgeable perspective, that if it's time to go in the drama, next body is ready. When it's your time, what's the point in hanging on to anything? So she just said to Daddy Janki on the telephone that, I'm content. Service has been done. Whatever's right in the drama, that's going to happen. And she was just feeling very positive. And Daddy Janki told her off for thinking that way. She said, the confluence age, our bodies are very valuable, and we must have only one mentality, that this body must keep going until I become karmatic. And this must carry on. So it completely altered Sister Mohini's way of thinking. And look, she's still with us, and that's very important, very valuable for everyone. But it was this switch of mentality that what is our relationship with the body? So I was saying that, there's one where there's elements and service, the second, elements and the yagya, the third, the body as the form of the elements. And then the fourth is where elements have to purify the world. This is their role in distraction, in the end of the Iron Age. So what Baba would call cooperation might be illnesses, adversity, wealth going up and down, because you are settling your account. So we heard this morning that Dharamraj Baba is with us. So ultimately his priority is everyone settled. So
I'd like to say one thing about Daddy Janki. One day we had a class, I was listening to Raju Bhai, you know, who is in charge of Murli department, the main senior brother. He was saying that, you know, it was class on like being loyal to Baba and economy, and it was like that. And then he was saying that Daddy Janki's economy and simplicity and protection of yagya and thinking of yagya was so much. And then when Daddy once told her, he called him and said, I want to write a will that when I leave the body, I don't want too many people, I don't want too many flowers or anything like that, because I want it very simple, not many gathering, not much. So he said, but Daddy, you don't need to do this. What are you saying? I can't make a will like that. And she says, no, you have to do it and do it now, right now. And she made him have a will like that. And that's why you see, but he said, look, that he was talking about when our thoughts are positive, powerful, and beneficial. So, and Baba is going to grant us and drama, but he said, according to drama, COVID came and nobody was able to come. And he said we couldn't even touch the flowers, anything. So he said we had the sandalwood, you know, dry garlands, and which we use for that reason. I said we brought out all that, and her funeral was so simple. And so, and he said, this is what he said. I was amazed how drama and made it possible for Daddy's wish. It was a good wish. It was a positive wish, and she would have liked it to go like that. So drama granted that.
would anyone like to come back and share anything on this topic before we talk about the Vishnu?
I just want to share a little bit on an experience with Vedanti Ben. Some years ago, when I was in Madhuban, there was a Kumari gathering, and she had to leave the main center where she was to go into some other area in Africa. And the journey would have been a journey that was very dangerous because you had a lot of decoys with people ambushing you and all that. But she went with the faith of Baba. And when she eventually reached, she had some trials along the way, but all the obstacles were cleared. And when she reached where she had to go, the destination, she had some radio station commitments to do. And when she went, she said those people were interested in, they were drought. It was drought. It hadn't rained for months and months. And those people only interested in like magic, if you can do magic. So when they invited her with the intention that she can perform some type of magic. So she said, the interviewer asked her, can your God make rain? And she said, yes. Will we get rain? She said, yes. So she said, when the interview was finished, the sisters who were with her said, Vedanti Ben, what did you say? What did you say? You say Baba can make rain. If rain doesn't come, this is defamation for Baba. She said, it's Baba's task. He has to take control. I say what I have to say. If he wants to be defamed, let him be defamed. That is his problem. And she let it go. So she said, by the time they journeyed back, it was around 2 in the morning. And she said, she sat with Baba. She said, Baba, this is it. You do what you have to do. I do my part. I am sleeping now. I'm not doing no more Amrit Vela. I'm going to sleep. And she said she went to sleep. And it was not too long after, on the roof, they started hearing these raindrops. And I took away from that, you know, really when service is to be done, where Baba is concerned and you let go, it happens. And it's really Baba's is magic. It is magic that happens because they were so concerned and she didn't have a care. You know, Vedanti Ben has this enthusiasm and how she's sharing and she doesn't really take it on. She puts all the burden because she says, you know, Baba helps. So I do feel really when we do service, as you were saying, when service has to happen, nature will serve because Baba service is to be done. If service is not to be done at that time and we make all the effort, it may not serve us at that time either. So it is really the intention of the service that you're doing. And if it is to happen according to drama, it will happen. Shit.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that story.
Yes,
I've heard.
yeah, that experience always stayed with me. Always stayed with me.
She's so great at teaching us how to relate to Baba, you know, have Baba as your friend, your companion. So yeah, it's she shares with such humor and also teaches us how to have confidence in our relationship with Baba as well. Yeah.
It's his, he wants it done, let him do.
Yeah, so Baba also speaks to her in the messages in that way. He relates to it. Like he was saying on Thursday, she said, he didn't tell me I could leave.
Yeah.
So she said, well, should I wait there? And Baba said, do what you want.
Yes.
You understand? So he also has that sense of humor with her, and we get to see that other side of Baba. But yes, I do remember that story, and I think it's as you're saying, that we have to understand there's machinery. And just now coming into my mind was something that came up in a Borg message maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, where Baba said that there's very incognito transformation that's already begun to happen around the world, whether it's in nature, in governments, in science, in people's minds. And so we know from like what scientists report that actually there's a big change happened in nature that's a bit unnoticed by a lot of people. And these things do happen, like things that are, when change is happening, it's happening often over a longer period of time. And even if someone is ill, that illness could actually be like a longer term issue, but the symptoms only become visible later on. So with Baba's things, you see, there's a lot happening. Like he said, he's very busy in the subtle region. So he's doing a lot on a subtle level to inspire the change. And so I think there's this relationship with Baba's task and nature, and then the purification. And you will all remember, I think most of you were there, or maybe watched afterwards, we had that Saturday session on the palaces of the womb. Do you remember that, Marley? And Ranjan Ben was just remembering that class on Monday about the advanced party and how these daddies have gone. And, you know, for Baba, Mama getting to her karmatic stage, these senior daddies getting to the karmatic stage is so important because he's looking longer term as well. And he talks about even Brahmins that are not famous, but having really good yoga. I've heard him say that some of them also are going to be going into the advanced party because at some point, the miracles of the virgin births are going to begin. And you know, that how the relationship with nature changes again at that point. And something that cannot be achieved in the copper and iron age begins to become the normal way of doing things again for thousands of years to come. So, you know, this power of yoga as well has a relationship with nature. It's not just like the material things we're putting into the yagya, but into service. But Baba says that children are born through the power of yoga. That's the way he usually phrases it in the Murali. And we know that we're not having yoga with Shiv Baba in the golden and silver age. So he's talking about the yoga you're having now. He's saying that what you're accumulating now is actually able to give a virgin birth. And once you have a body through a virgin birth, it's never ill. You're already eliminating so many types of sorrow just by doing that. He says that it's actually vice that creates sorrow from the beginning to the middle till the end. So what can yoga not achieve? We also had that Murali on a Saturday on the power of silence, where Baba said that you've only really experienced like a drop of the ocean of what silence could achieve. And the theme running through Thursday's old messages was about serving through the mind, keeping your mind and intellect in the unlimited. And he was remembering the devotees a lot. He was saying that every Brahmin is connected with a certain group of devotees. Let's say, I don't know how this works exactly, but let's imagine that every Brahmin has 1 million souls who worship them. Now, you as a Brahmin have to accumulate enough yoga power to sustain all millions, because they are relying on their deity to remove the obstacles for them, to give them success. Baba used this phrase this week in the Muralis, that everyone receives the inheritance at this time, some directly, some indirectly. And so you Brahmins have to sustain. So there's this very subtle connection with nature that happens through the worship-worthy form. The devotees create a material idol or have a picture. And the yoga you accumulate at confluence age somehow spreads through time, because it's in an eternal level. I don't think vibrations are limited to time. And someone worshipping in the next cycle, in the copper and iron age, experiences your accumulated yoga power coming back through them. And today Baba was saying how bhakti as well goes through the stages of sato, raja, tamo. And one aspect of that is the Brahmin's yoga power has run out by the end of the eye. So your stock that was also helping the devotees, it's run out by the end of the cycle. So the devotees are getting less and less as time is going on. And this is why many of them give up with bhakti, because they're not getting what they need. So then they turn more to Ravan. And so Baba said the vices increase as you become more adulterated. So there's a connection on a very subtle level as well between the yoga and nature. And Baba says you've got to serve the elements as well. You're the ones that's got to turn the elements back to being subtle for them as well. They're very angry at the moment. So you're going to have to give them peace. So there's very, very subtle connections with nature. Then with the thing about Vishnu, I mean, I think it's a question, but this whole aspect of memory, I think it's an interesting one. We've had the narratives in the last 2 weeks from Baba, how this religion is different to the other religions, and things disappear because there's a big distraction at the end of the Iron Age, and then again at the end of the Silver Age. So we've had that narrative. He said with the other religions, they've got an unbroken timeline back to their founder, so they're able to tell you their history. But you ask a Hindu who established their religion, they've got no idea. They'll just say it's always been him, since time immemorial. So Baba's saying that these two things, these two like extinction events, really, to use Lockic terminology, they create, he says things disappear because of that. But when the daddies had asked Baba, there's a morally, I think from about 1973, something 72, where this is in the morally, that Baba, are we not remembered at all? No memorial of anything we do? And Baba said that the coat of arms of that Sandanista kingdom is the symbol of Vishnu. And it's behind the throne. Now, on one side, that makes a lot of sense because you've actually got Vishnu sustaining you. So in one sense, I suppose the understanding would be that this is a depiction of the mother and father of the kingdom. So I suppose that. My only assumption is that the ornaments can't be there because they're connected with violence in one way or another. But I don't know that for sure. So I don't really have an idea on that. I don't know whether Baba will tell us more about that or whether he's just going to leave it open and then we can share. But certainly, I suppose Vishnu in itself, without the ornaments, is not problematic. It's what makes it. With the ornaments, then why would you have weapons symbolized there, and what would be the understanding of them there? The other thing that I've been thinking about, in my looking through my third eye, really, and as I experiment with my 5 forms, is whether we remember all 20 births when we're in the golden and silver age. Because this whole thing of memory, in the copper and iron age, I think we need death to have a fresh start. But we haven't got traumas to deal with in the golden and silver age. And when we're in a soul conscious stage, we're in eternity. So there's a continuum. Like Shiv Baba just sees everything on a continuum. And he doesn't have that perception of stopping and starting that we experience in the copper and iron age with death. So in the golden age, as a deity, do we have like a continuous feeling? Like instead of us taking 20 births, we just feel we're on like one journey that's continuous through the full half cycle. And so Baba says, you don't have any experience of death. There's not even a word of death. So then, if it's feeling of continuity, then do we have memory access going back to all of our births? Even when we're in the silver age, we can remember right back. And then as we meet souls, do we access memories of past positive relations? And there's that love and that recognition. I don't know. I mean, just for you to think about, it's just some questions that were coming in my mind this week. Experimenting. My sense through my third eye was that probably, that probably there's just that feeling of, because you're living in the present, so it's not like the past is bothering you and you're not becoming subconscious. But the subconsciousness would just be filled with positive memories anyway. And when you're in soul consciousness, you're not governed by time, really. You're feeling like you're like separate from time. There's not really a past, present, and future. It's all a continuous track. Yep, so I don't think I'm that much more helpful, Vishnu.
I'm wondering, brother, if you could just chip in here as it came to my mind. What is it? I don't know what the meaning of Vishnu is, what the English meaning is. If there is a translation, and maybe at that point in time, they look at Mama and Baba as the two rulers of the universe at that time and symbolize them as Vishnu. That's what I'm thinking. They did it on their own. So I don't know what the meaning of Vishnu
Yes,
is.
yes. I mean, I was, again, as part of my experiment. So, I'm sharing with you things I can't really verify. It's just my perceptions and experiences. But again, in my experimentations with yoga, I was sort of looking through my third eye to see what will it be like, that moment, because Baba says it's very significant, that coronation day. All of you will be there, that first time especially. Sri Krishna, Sri Radhe, they are from different kingdoms and they might play together, but then they grow up and it's time to become Lakshmi and Narayan. But then it's that union between the two. And my sense is that, you see, where soul has no baggage, no subconsciousness, no karmic accounts, no burden, I'm not sure that the soul needs to stay very separate from each other. So I think the moment of that marriage of Lakshmi and Narayan, those two souls become one soul, one mind. So Vishnu is the symbol of one united mind. I think the second Lakshmi and Narayan are Daddy Prakashmani and Didi Manmohini. And there was, when, now I've only heard this secondhand. I was in my previous body in the 1970s. But Didi and Daddy, of course, had taken over the administration. And people just noted their single, there's like a single mind. So I've heard experiences that people were sitting in a class with Daddy Prakashmani, and they would ask Daddy a question. Daddy would go into a moment's silence and respond, Didi and Daddy think this. So Didi's not in the room. Daddy's just gone into a moment of silence. And it was as if there was a consultation happening on a subtle level. And then she's responding, well, this is Didi and Daddy's answer. And there was a saying that Didi and Daddy, two bodies, one soul. So they used to say this, the Mother Universities, in the 1970s. And I think that's also a premonition, like, for the future. Like, when souls become Vishnu, they become one. Like we hear at the end of the Murali's. I mean, we see it and hear it all the time with Bab Dada. Bab Dada, there is one soul, the two become one. And then at the end of the Murali, love and remembrances from the mother, the father, Bab Dada. And, you've got the two combining. Daddy Janki used to say that they used to say mother and father means mama and baba, then Bab Dada. And Mama used to say, no, mother and father means also Bab Dada. They are the mother and father. But Mama and Baba as well, there used to be like that feeling. This is like one mind. And so I think the symbol of Vishnu is that simple. I think probably for all deities, when they marry, there is such a deep union between the two souls, the heart. So Baba talks about this even in the Iron Age, where two souls can be very deeply in love. So it's like there's this subtle connection between them, even when they're not together. So in the Golden Age, there would be no barriers of impurity, of karmic accounts, of past bad experiences. So why would you need to have like boundaries and parameters and distancing?
Shailen Bai, I wonder if you can hear me.
Yes, very well.
Okay, that's good. I thought Dada was used only for Avyak Murlis and not Sakar Murlis.
No, no, it comes every day in the Love and Remembrance.
No, I thought they did that after the 18th of January of 1969.
Oh, I see.
When-
No, Daddy Janki tells the story of this. So I think it was 1959 when Brahma Baba had to have a gallbladder operation. So he was in the hospital in Mumbai, and Daddy would travel from Pune to go and visit. So early days, of course, Baba was not meeting many people. And then after a few days, of course, all the Brahmins want to go and visit Baba and see how he is and take drishti. So, but Brahma Baba was very sensitive to anyone seeing him as a guru. So if you've got this figure and all these people in white are coming to visit, the hospital staff are just going to say, oh, they've come to see their guru. And he didn't want that. So Vedi Janki asked him, what should the Brahmins say? Who are they coming to visit? What should they say? So Baba went into silence and he said, tell them to tell the reception staff at the hospital they're coming to visit their Bapdada. And that's when it started.
So before he left the body as 100%,
About 1959.
10 years before.
It comes every day in the morning. The Love and Remembrance.
Yes, but I thought it was a version that they did after his death, this Bap Dada, for the 5 years of Sakar Murlis. Thanks for that.
No, it comes even in the audio recording.
Okay. Shukriya.
Okay. Now, I think we should hand over to Ranjan Ben to read the morning and take us through.
And I would say, Dada has two meaning. I mean, big brother in Sindhi and also in Maharashtra, Marathi. Dada means my big brother. You'll hear a lot of Madhubani artists calling Dada, Dada. So Dada means, in Gujarati, Dada means grandfather. We always, when we first heard Dada, we thought it was grandfather, but no, this in Marathi and some other states of India, they call Dada means big brother. But Dada is for grandfather. There in Sindhi also, Dada is, and Dada softly is big brother. So that's why you see, but probably some thought, but no, it comes. So when we use, Baba says, Brahma Baba is your big brother as well. You know, so that's when Dada, big brother. So Bab Dada, but Dada, when sometimes we use, is for Shiv Baba. The Shiv Baba is our grandfather.
Also, yes.
He gives us inheritance through our father, the Brahma. But Baba adopts us through Brahma Baba as our big mother. You know, we all are born through Brahma Baba yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So today, so this is why. But Dada is used widely, but it's just in Sindhi or Maharashtra, this different in Gujarat and all Punjab. And that's why, probably.
I'll hand over to you.
Right. so many. This is a Murli of 1984, and it's really good. So many different, but I chose. Shailen Bhai asked me to choose Murli today, so I thought, well, I've been wanting this when I read this Murli about karmatic angels, because we have been saying about angels, and Baba said it's our last stage, it's the polishing that Baba will do. And was it Pandav Bhavan message Baba asked? I said, our Sakashan, wasn't it, we don't stay enough in. Sachiben said, but Baba, we do come and go.
Yes, the diamond polishing was Shantivan's.
Huh?
But
Pandav Bhavan, and Baba said, you know, Shashiben said, but Baba, we do come to such a region. And so Baba said, still not enough. And Baba gave our results. But we have been talking about karmatic and all these sakar murlis of last week. So I thought this murli will be really good for us to practice. So this is the murli of 7th March, 1984. 7/03, 1984. The karmatic angels can give liberation in a second. So Baba talked about, also mentioned that we are to give mukti and jivan mukti. Means liberation and liberation in life. And also it was in Vedanti Ben's message, you know. So the karmatic angels can give liberation in a second. Madhuban, the land of blessings, is the land which gives the experience of easy transformation, the experience of elevated company, and the experience of all achievements. So, 3 things. Land of blessing is the land which gives the experience of easy transformation, the experience of elevated company, and the experience of all achievement. 3 things. It is a very powerful land. By coming to such land, do you experience yourself as accomplished, that is full in everything, satisfied? Or do you still feel that something is lacking? So many treasures have been given. Have you imbibed them forever? Do you understand that after returning from Madhuban to your service places, you will become instrumental as great donors for donating all powers? So Baba asked us, do you understand that after returning from Madhuban to your service places, you will become instrumental as great donors? That is Mahadani in Hindi, great donors for donating all powers. Have you experienced yourself to be the embodiment as the one who is the destroyer of all obstacles, the embodiment of solutions? The Ganesh is the deity with elephant head. The Ganesh is usually worshipped for destroying the obstacles and the embodiment of solutions. So we all are Ganesh, Baba says, is asking. You become not only the solution of obstacles for the self, but also the embodiment of solution for all others as well. According to the present time, Brahmin souls should be always free from obstacles. To be influenced by obstacles means that those souls are still in their childhood stage. Now the Brahmin souls are grown up. They have passed their childhood and they have received the method for becoming the conquerors of Maya. In their youth, they become Mahavirs, all-round servers. So Mahavirs, Baba gave the meaning, all-round servers. They become the bestowers of blessings, the great donors for many souls. They had many experiences and have become Maharathis. And so that was Mahavir. Maha means great. Veer means brave warriors or soldiers, Veers who are victorious and brave. And Maharathi. So that was Mahavirs. Mahavirs means brave and always victorious. Baba said all-round servers. They become the bestowers of blessings, the great donors for many souls. They had many experiences and have become Maharathis. Maharathis. Rathi means the charioteer. So I, the soul, am a charioteer of this body, all the senses, and my subtle senses, mind, body, mind and intellect, and sanskars, and body, and all the senses. And so that is Maharathi. Yeah, outside Om Shanti Bhavan, in Pandav Bhavan, there is a charioteer riding a chariot and has all the reins in his hands, all the senses, like there's eye and mouth, and you must have seen it. And so that is Maharathi, who has self-sovereignty, basically. And now it is time to reach the karmatic stage, the stage of maturity, the retired stage. The other day, Baba said the entire world, everybody is in retirement. But for us, Baba has pointed out to three stages of us: childhood, and then youth, and retirement, retired. So if you get influenced by obstacles, do you remember what Baba said is which stage? Souls are still in their childhood stage. And then when souls are grown up, means more experience, they pass through childhood and receive the method for becoming the conquerors of Maya. The youth, they become Mahavirs, all-round servers. They become the bestowers of blessings, the great donors for many souls. Because they had experiences. So retired people, older people are more experienced. They are Maharathis. They know how to control and how to run everything smoothly and find solutions. And that's why Baba said it's the retired stage, karmatic stage. Through the karmatic stage of maturity, you can liberate all souls from their karma bondages for half a cycle and take them to the land of liberation. The souls who are liberated can enable other souls to claim the inheritance of mukti from the Father in a second. The majority of souls will come to receive the alms of mukti. They will come to beg mukti from you. Yeah, so this Thursday's Vedanti's message was somewhat like that. Baba said now that they will come. So they will come to the children who are in their karmatic stage, the donors, the souls who become bestowers of blessings, just as they go to the temples now to pray and beg for peace and happiness in front of your non-living statues. Some go on pilgrimages and some ask for peace and happiness while sitting at their homes. According to their power and according to their faith, they go and achieve the result of their prayers. Some, while sitting far away, pray with an honest heart, while some sit in front of statues in temples or at pilgrimage places just for the sake of showing off. They go with a selfish motive. So such souls receive the fruit of their devotion according to their faith and feelings. So even there are two types of devotees, some with their heart and some with selfish motive. And they will receive the fruit accordingly, according to their faith and feelings. Now, according to the present time, they will come to pray in front of you, the living images, the embodiment of blessings, the great donors. Some will reach the temples, some will reach the greatest pilgrimage place, Madhuban, and some, through their intellects, will have divine visions while sitting at their own homes and will experience glorification. Some won't be able to come directly, but will pray with firm determination and great love. In their minds, they will invoke you, the living angels. So, Baba said, living angels, and will ask for liberation. In a short time, all of you souls will be able to give them their inheritance quickly. Just as the means of destruction are being refined and destruction is going to take place at a fast speed, in the same way, you, the karmatic angels, will be able to give them liberation in a second. Through this stage, you, the souls who are the bestowers of blessings, the great donors, the embodiment of power, will be able to give them the response of their prayers. That is, you will enable them to receive liberation in no time at all. Now Baba is asking us, what do you think Baba's question is now after all that? Are you ready to do this task? For this task, the souls who have become Master Almighty, the bestowers of all powers, knowledge, and virtues, and the embodiment of remembrance. Are you ready in all these things? Did you catch it? What things Baba asked us to be ready? Shall I read it again?
Yeah, sure.
So first Baba asked us the question, are you ready to do this task? For this task, the souls who have become Master Almighty, the bestower of all powers, knowledge and virtues, and the embodiment of remembrance. Are you ready in all these things? You know, this Baba's Thursday meeting also, Baba mentioned certain things. for us to, to be Master Almighty and a business person and giving. And when Baba says that Smruti Labda means this the embodiment of remembrance, Smruti Labda, when we become that, and then we become the destroyer, conqueror of attachment. So Baba has already given us the question paper, and this is should be our last result. So that's why that we should be embodiment of remembrance, Smruti Labda, and what is Nashto Moha, means conqueror of attachment, all attachment, everything. So that's why, are you ready in all these things? The machinery of destruction and the machinery of giving blessings will progress simultaneously at a very fast speed. You should be ready over a long period of time. That is, you should be ever ready from now. So we are sitting in front of Baba, and Baba is pointing out for us that you should be ever ready from now. And we can see now all that war in Ukraine, the destruction is really going fast, isn't it? They all are worried about, Baltic Sea, and I'm sure all this is happening. For us, Baba is saying, are we ever ready from now? If you haven't practiced now to increase speed or stay in the karmatic stage, the stage of being the embodiment of solutions, then in the end, instead of giving solutions quickly or giving blessings, what do you think Baba has said? You will become just observers instead of being donors. So it's quite.
At the moment, we're like observers of the senior daddies, and
yeah.
We will say, well, Daddy Gozal was like this, Daddy Janki was like that, but we ourselves are not like that. So Baba is saying that you don't want this at the end as well.
And Baba always tells us that, no, you all look in Vogue message, Baba saw all of us, like Mohini Ben said, she didn't see any subtle body or anything, just the diamonds. So this is how high vision Baba has for us. And Baba had all his children in a diamond, and then Baba was removing if there was any flow. So, and Baba says, I give the same knowledge to everyone, each and everyone in here. So anyhow, so did you catch all this? And there's a very deep meaning, and I think good wishes for us all to catch it and do it from Baba. I just got this feeling right now for that. I just suddenly felt that Baba says now become embodiment of solutions. Then in the end, instead of giving solutions quickly or giving blessings, you will become just observers instead of being donors. Those who have made fast efforts for a long period of time. So fast efforts. Baba also said, according to time, we should be intense effort makers on Thursday, Avyakt meeting. And so Baba is saying, those who have made fast efforts for a long period of time will become the instruments for doing service. This is known as the state of maturity and retirement, the state of going beyond sound. So sometimes, we say how to go beyond sound, but as you know, people get retired. As people get older, they want to go be in silence. So this is a spiritual.
Vanprastha.
Vanprastha.
Vani separe.
Yeah.
going beyond sound. So the word Baba plays with for retirement in Hindi,
So,
as being beyond sound.
so
That was
and-
yesterday's morning.
and this is the checking in Thursday's Murli. There was a lot of homework and checking, and here also Baba is asking us to check which stage I am. I am childhood still, or youth, or this experienced. You know, we go and ask the experienced people for their advice and wisdom. And so Baba is saying this is known as the state of maturity and retirement, the state of going beyond sound. And yesterday also Sakar Murli Baba mentioned, before people at the age of 60 used to hand over to their older and then go away and go in, and just have this life of praying and preparing themselves. Now things have changed. Of course, retirement is changed, but it is the state which is free from all bondages, a detached and very loving state of service. Such souls will do service together with the Father. Now is not the time for problems. Now is the time to donate. It is not the time for the self, nor is it the time for problems. Now the time for the self, for problems, and for fluctuation has, can you fill in the blank what Baba said? Now the time for the self, for problems, and for fluctuation has finished. To have a problem is also the creation of one's own weakness. To have a problem is also the creation of one's own weakness. The cause of having to face a problem arising through someone else or some circumstance is a weakness of the self. I read this again. See, this is the self rather than looking out. The cause of having to face a problem arising through someone else or some circumstance is a weakness of the self. Baba says it's your own weakness. Where there is any weakness, then problems attack via circumstances or through human beings or through a particular person. If there is no weakness, then a problem cannot attack. Problems may come, but instead of being problems, they will make you experienced in becoming the embodiment of the solutions of all problems. Excuse me. Problems are the creation. Now, Baba has given the example of a cartoon show with children, and everyone likes Mickey Mouse, So people go to Orlando, don't they, for Mickey Mouse? Problems are the creation, the Mickey Mouse of your own weaknesses. Now you are laughing. So everybody was laughing. Baba said, now you are laughing. But when the problem comes, what do you do at that time? You yourself, this is what Baba says, not me, you yourself become Mickey Mouse. Don't be afraid of these problems, but play with them instead. But that is also the game of childhood. So Baba pointed out that don't be afraid of these problems, but play with them instead. Then Baba is pointing out But that is also the game of childhood. Better still, don't create them and don't waste your time. Go beyond this all. Reach your stage of retirement. That is the karmatic state of maturity. Samjha, Baba says in Hindi, Samjha, understand. What does the time say? And what does the father say? Do you still like to play with toys? Now, what has become of the Iron Age human creation? Baba has asked. Now, what has become of the Iron Age human creation? You often hear in the Murli that this creation is like scorpions and snakes. The creation of someone's own weaknesses or weak problem is like scorpions and snakes, which bite the self, the creator. It makes you weak. So, Baba says scorpions and snakes are nothing else but our own. It's like my own weaknesses or weak problem. It's like scorpions and snakes which bite the self, the creator. It makes you weak. This is why you should return from Madhuban accomplished. Have the firm thought that now you will finish all your problems and that you will never become the embodiment of problems for anyone else either. So, Baba is pointing out that pay so much attention that you don't become a problem, embodiment of problems for anyone else either. You will become the embodiment of solutions for the self and for others also. Understand? You have worked so hard. You have spent money and come here to Madhuban. So with a firm determination, you will be able to achieve the fruit of your labor constantly and easily. And this is what at the end of the Thursday Murli, Baba's meeting, Mohini Ben New York said, Baba has given us a lot of homework but one she is taking with her is with determination to be Master Almighty Authority, like Baba said. And so Baba is also saying that you come here after spending so much money, after, all that. With firm determination, you'll be able to achieve the fruit of your labor constantly and easily. Just as you have had firm determination and have taken a pledge in the important subject of purity, you will tolerate and die to keep the promise of purity. You won't fluctuate even in dreams and thoughts. And if there is any kind of fluctuations, you think it is a sin. In the same way, to become a problem or to be influenced by a problem is also counted in the account of sin. And this is something new sort of I learned. That even
How much is left now?
no, yeah, it is, yeah.
Quite a lot left, huh?
Huh? There is quite a lot,
Yeah.
but I
So
thought
let's
this was
stop
really
there.
good. So
I think so too. I think it defined yesterday's topic of the stage of retirement, and it also
this is
the topic of giving the vibrations around the world in the Borg messages. So it's part of our development. Baba saying your maturity as a Brahmin. He said, Shiv Baba coming means everyone's stage of retirement. You got to grow up. Now, don't even create the problems. Don't get influenced by the problems. Just have total grip and maturity within yourself. You create the problem, you then have to deal with it. So don't do it in the first place. Does anyone have any final reflections on the Murli?
Are we going to stop?
Yeah.
There's another page. It's interesting. And I thought today, you know, there's a Bap Dada speaking to a party from New York. And I thought there's quite some, we will all share their blessings.
We can continue.
But we'll continue because there's some lovely things next week. And there are some lot of, in this 1984 book, there's a lot of question answers, and it's a lovely. Okay.
Would anyone like to come in with some reflections on the Murli?
Just like to check, when is this Murli? 1964, what date is that?
1984.
7th March 1984. 8-4.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know what went on there. Baba was saying that in Imurli that destruction and blessings will happen simultaneously. So I'm thinking that the blessings will be where the service will be taking place as well to other souls. Am I correct with that?
I think so. I think what Baba is saying is that it's going to be Brahmin souls that help souls fly to the soul world. So Shiv Baba is liberating the Brahmins, and the Brahmins will be the brides. But then you've got the rest of the procession, and they have to receive the inheritance indirectly. So Baba is saying that you're going to have to develop such yoga power that through your drishti, another soul can return to the soul. That's the blessing.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So Baba's then asking us, are you ready to do that? And of course, none of it. We all have to say no. But he's making us aware that this has to be done over a long period of time. We need the accumulation. And we saw the daddies achieve that. And no doubt, Baba will give us bonus marks as we go along so we can do it in a shorter time. But still, you need the commitment to do it daily over a long period of time. Thank you.
Sorry, one more. Do you remember what Vedanti, when we heard that Mullian, she was moving, move forward and what that? When I read this Murli, there are some points I wanted to, but I didn't want to interrupt because it's such a lovely Murli there. But one thing that Vedanti...
We'll check it in that share next time.
Okay.
We'll check what, so we remember what it is.
Yeah, okay. We don't have time. Next time we will finish the Murli and then we'll... Okay.
Would anyone else like to come in with any thoughts?
Shanti, I believe in this Murli. Baba is emphasizing like we should all know with full faith and pure intentions, anything is possible. Whatever we need to achieve, once we have that full faith that God is with me and God is helping me, anything is possible. All achievement is possible. Once it's a pure feeling, pure intention, and that full faith in Baba. That's all I had to say. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for underlining that for us today, sister. Yeah.
Shanti, I am so sorry I overslept. I am so sorry, but at least I got a piece of it. And Baba, you know, we must not give up faith. I know because in my own life, I see the results not right away, but later on. And sometimes Baba tests our faith. That with that faith, miracles will take place. And I know that we have to keep that faith and see the results finally.
Thank you. And also it's about accumulation, accumulating our own power, that because Baba is empowering rather than doing everything for us. So he's saying that initially we need Baba to do everything for us because we are younger, we're less mature. But now he needs all of us Brahmins to get into our stage of retirement and develop this maturity where instead of having all these issues and problems and needing someone to sort it out for us, we feel a sense of maturity and think, okay, what part of my attitude is causing? What part of maybe my approach is causing this? So he's saying, have a look and be very honest with yourself that can you always say that this problem keeps occurring because it's someone else? And do you want to spend your life just then dealing with that problem? Or do you want to adjust yourself in some way so that that problem just doesn't come in your drama anymore? And then your mind is freed to do more elevated things. And Baba can use it in another level. A really, really useful definition of the stage of retirement.
But Om Shanti Bhai, sometimes come to a certain situation, you will feel that there's a lot of fear. Even though you say you want to be embodying a solution. So what should you do?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And let's take that up as a full theme on a Saturday, actually. You know, we've been talking the last couple of weeks about the subconsciousness. I don't know if you've caught any of those videos. We've done it last week's one, and the one before has been on the Chit. And the thing about the Chit, the subconsciousness, is it's very much driven by fear. And so, as you're saying, if you heard the beginning of today's Morali, Baba was saying, have you become full? Have you become accomplished? Is there anything left? And so what you're describing is as long as we got some level of emptiness, we're going to have fear. And so I think fear comes as part of this, that you're creating the problems, because fear is such a powerful driver. It creates a lot of waste thoughts inside of us. It creates misjudgments, misperceptions inside of us. If you think people fight wars because of fear, you know, in the world, the fear can actually be, it might not even be reality. Just out of fear, let me bomb them first, or something like, you know, people will do really, really extreme things just out of fear. So I think we can do a dedicated Saturday session on fear. I think it's a very, Lady Janki used to call it the sixth vice. She used to say the 5 big vices, and vice number 6 is fear. So you're quite right to focus us on that. But because it's the end of this session, we won't do it full justice. But let's do it as a proper topic. And if you haven't tuned into the previous 2 weeks, you might want to dip into those videos because we're looking at the subconscious mind. And that.
Okay,
Thanks for raising it. Thanks for raising it. Yeah. Okay. So we've had a very rich session again. Thank you all for contributing to that. And we'll remember this topic of fear for another week, and we'll go into more depth on that one. But I think this stage of retirement, yeah, that's a good theme for us. So let's churn on that. And have a good week, everyone. Great that you could join us. And those of you on YouTube later on, also have a great week. Good wishes.
Shanti, thank you both very, very much. Have a beautiful week.
You too.
Thank you.
Shanti. Thank you. Have a good week, everyone. I'm Shanti.
Nancy.